Google is flooded with AI-generated blog posts that no longer rank. Meanwhile, people are desperately searching for real comparisons. Best GPU for AI inference. Which models run on my hardware? Upcoming AI conferences near me. I built several specialized AI directories that solve exactly that, and they drive free traffic plus affiliate commissions on autopilot. Today I'll show you the exact strategy, the business value, SEO, GEO, AEO, and I live built a brand new AI events directory with Claude Code. Stick around, this is how smart founders are creating evergreen assets that actually drive traffic. Welcome to Made by Agents, my name is Tobias and let's get started. Why are directories crushing it right now? And my personal strategy. Pure generated AI blog content is dying for SEO because everyone can now send a prompt to their AI model and it spits out a ready-made blog post that can be posted. The internet is flooded with this low quality content that you can generate instantly yourself, or you don't even need to visit the website anymore because AI will just give you the answer right away. But with directories, it's different because they are structured, filterable, and evergreen data hubs that Google and AI engines like Perplexity, ChatGPT, or Gemini love because of schema markup and comparisons and user intent matching. And there are a lot of real-world proofs that this model is working. There are tons of niche directories hitting $1,000 to $40,000 a month via affiliates, premium paid listings, and sponsorships. And once this is live, it is pretty low overhead when you have the automations in place. For example, job listing directories or AI tools for specific niches. Here, for example, on Indie Hustle, making $6,000 monthly running a directory website. And this guy here built a website that lets you compare open source alternatives with popular software. You can see here how he is making money with this. For example, advertise with us, and he's offering packages for businesses to feature their open source tool on this website. Then he's making money with ads. Here, for example, he has an ad to Hetzner, and here's an ad as well at the top. Then there are tons of job listing directories, for example, here, crypto job lists. When you dig a bit around, you see that they make money by offering featured listings, or basically the job listings, to businesses and recruiters. And here you can set your budget, buy packages, and so on. And even for local services, there are directories that are listing electricians in your area. And you can see here they are featured contractors and they probably pay the page to be at this position. And when you look at this and many other directories, you see, okay, Claude Code can one-shot this in a way better design, and you can probably come up with more tools and better features and just value that you can add to existing directories. And the idea is to combine your domain expertise with a high demand and low competition sub niche. So let's say in my case, I'm an expert in AI hardware and models, and I then combine this with AI hardware directory that lets you compare open source models with closed source models and lets you calculate return on investment and so on. Or let's say you are a chef and you build a directory that lets people compare different kitchen utilities with each other. Or you are a project manager and you create a directory with project management tools or AI tools or something like that. So there are tons and tons of sub niches that you can choose. Now I just want to share my strategy, how I go about this before I even start building something and coding something up. And step one is the research. There are many different tools you can use to do the research. And one tool I like to use is, for example, Grok. And Grok is an AI by XAI that's integrated in X, or formerly Twitter. And the advantage of Grok is that it has access to all the latest posts on X and what's actually trending, what people are commenting on, and what's going viral, and so on. So that's a really good research tool. And you can ask something like, hey, what type of AI events are trending right now and in which locations worldwide? And then after a few seconds, it comes back with the results. Right now, AI events are heavily focused on enterprise deployment, generative agentic AI, cybersecurity, and the tech hubs are in the US, but also in Europe, Asia, South America, Argentina. Then a list of some key events here and what's coming next, what's upcoming. Another feature we can use is AI deep research. And Grok, for example, doesn't have this feature anymore, but Gemini, for example, still has this feature when you select deep research. So we have deep research now selected, and now we can ask it to do some deep research on a topic that we are interested in and where we see potential for a directory. And we can say something like, you are a world-class expert in hackathons and you are a pro developer. You participated already in thousands of hackathons, and I want you to research the web to find existing lists or directories that have hackathons listed and these type of events. And then I want you to extract all the different features of these different pages and what kind of data they show. Yeah, give me this in a list and don't duplicate features, only give me really the individual value points. And now we submit, and this can take several minutes now. But first of all, it's generating a research plan that we have to approve. So here's the plan I've put together. Find popular platforms, directories, and aggregators dedicated to listing hackathons and developer events globally. Then examine individual hackathon listings. Note data points related to event details such as dates, location formats, virtual, hybrid, or physical, technological themes, and so on, prize pools, sponsors, whatever. Let's start the research. And while this is now researching, I can show you another strategy, and that is looking for products. If you want to build a directory that is focused around products and product listings, and Amazon is a really great choice because a lot of people buy on Amazon and they trust Amazon, and the affiliate program is really easy. It just works, converts really well. And for example, designer, we see it here already, designer gifts. So we could make a directory or maybe even a e-commerce store about designer bags and stuff like that. We could create a lot of content about these different types of bags, and then we link to Amazon later on. Or about fitness devices, clothing, a gift directory. Then we could make something about headphones. There are really tons of niches. And we can look for products that are selling really well, where there's actually a lot of demand, for example, for headphones. And we can see that these have a lot of reviews and potentially make a lot of sales. And there are different tools and ways you can do this, just the Amazon research itself. Then another website, and this is a kind of a classic, is Google Trends, where you can research how much traffic or how much engagement different search terms get. And when we search here, for example, for hackathons, we see that in the past 5 years worldwide, this was actually increasing a lot until recently. And I saw this drop in general in many events. So maybe this is because of the ongoing tensions in the Middle East, not sure, but it's still relatively high. And then we can see here similar queries, upcoming hackathons, for example, then hackathons plus the year, AI hackathons. This would be actually a sub niche. Hackathons just for AI applications. Online hackathons is a sub niche, or like physical hackathons. Then hackathons in specific countries like India, hackathons near me. And another way is to look at existing directories to see, are there already directories in this niche? And is there something where I can add value, where I can make it better, where I can create a better design, where I can create additional tools, where I can improve the data quality, and so on. And to find this out, we can also use AI deep research or use tools like Perplexity and other search engines. Gemini now completed the deep research, and we get a quite interesting comprehensive report. It usually adds a lot of text and explanation to it, but nevertheless a lot of time-saving information. And here, for example, the first table we see here with some features and value points. The geographic target radius, virtual event or in-person event or hybrid, then status indicators, then start end dates, and so on and so on. Price pool, Web3 token bounties, maybe other bounties, then some skill tags like programming languages, then the hackathon submission, eventually a matchmaking pool, some graphs or charts, and more stuff we could add and build. This all has potential also for several tools that we could add and develop with Claude Code. And this is all based on hundreds of sources. Pretty cool stuff. So let's leave this tab open and we can later copy the contents here with a single click. So step 2 is like to think about how we want to set this up. And what we actually need when we have this directory in place is traffic, right? So we want to have visitors on this page. And there are now two different ways how we can spin this up. We could add this to our existing website, or we could add this as a separate new website. If we already have a website that gets traffic and visitors and the topic of the directory fits to the main website, then it's maybe a good idea to add this to an existing website. Otherwise, I would just start this from scratch. And nowadays, there's not only SEO, search engine optimization, but also GEO, which stands for Generative Engine Optimization, and AEO, which stands for Answer Engine Optimization. And to go just into these two new terms and explain everything, how this works and how you can optimize websites, I think that would be topic for a separate video. But just keep this in mind, and we will later use Skill to optimize our directory just for this, so that our pages not only appear on Google, but also in AI search engines like Perplexity, ChatGPT, Gemini, Grok, and so on, which can recommend your pages. And this is an increasing, growing traffic source. So we want to optimize our pages not only for SEO, but also for GEO and AEO. And the last step is the monetization. And there are very different forms. As I showed you already in the examples, one is affiliate links to Amazon, for example, or other websites, sponsorships, or you sell featured positions on your website for a monthly price, or you just place ads and banners somewhere on your website. There are really a range of different ways to monetize it. Another way is you place your own products and services on this page and just route the traffic to your own offers. So what's the business value now? First, SEO, long tail keywords that are ranking, plus the internal linking of the different pages with each other. Then the GEO, AEO aspect with structured data and schemas for products or events that gets you cited in AI answers. This gives you free traffic and authority. Directories become the go-to hub, plus backlinks, plus brand trust. Then several new revenue streams through affiliate commissions, featured listings, sponsorships, ads, and so on. And the real outcome is passive income while helping your audience make faster, better decisions. For example, this GPU runs Qwen 3.6 at 50 tokens per second. Here's the link. And when you compare this to the traditional blog post, the longevity is much higher with directories. So the traffic goes up exponentially, while the blog post has a traffic spike maybe and then declines. after a while because it becomes outdated. The conversions are much higher in the directory, and we're talking about a longevity of several years compared to a few months. And now I can show you one of my own directories that I recently built. And this one is an AI hardware directory. And this lets you compare GPUs, edge devices, and more with real specs and benchmarks. And people use this to pick hardware that actually fits their workload instead of guessing. And we have this main hardware page here, which lets you filter by manufacturers and prices and VRAM and so on. And then you get here a list of available hardware products, for example, graphic cards. We have a detail page for each product here with a link to Amazon, with a video and share links, then all the specs here. And by the way, I generated this all with AI. And then we have a table here that shows the compatible AI models that run on this hardware. And you can also filter this and view this in different view modes. And without going too much into the details, you can see all the required stats that are relevant for this topic, and also similar products. So you see the linking here. So I linked to other products within the directory. And this way it's kind of a loop, an infinite loop. And you can go to every page without navigating back. When you click here on one of the models, for example, it links to the model detail page where you have all the specs and stats and benchmarks of this AI model. And then you see here the hardware compatibility. So it's the other way around, where you can now find hardware that's running this model, then more text with long tail keywords, and then also links to related models. Here we go. Then we have also a models page, a table of all local AI models that you can filter with benchmarks. And then we have a few features here, for example, find my model, and you can click through this and then it recommends the top 3 models to run your use case. Then we have here a compare with closed model feature. So you can go ahead and compare, for example, Grok 4.1 with Gemini 3.1 Pro, and then let's say Qwen, and you click here on compare and it generates this radar chart, and you can see how these different models compare to each other. Then we also have here this find open source alternatives, Claude Sonnet 4.6, and then we see here which local AI models are most similar regarding the benchmarks, and we can click on compare or click on view details, and this links to the detail page then again. And in addition to that, I built 2 separate tools already that are connected with the same database, and one is a hardware calculator, so you can detect your hardware here or select it from a list, and then you can select the models you are interested in and click on calculate, and this now generates a table which you can sort by different parameters to see which local AI models can run on your hardware. Then in the hero here we have a share button which allows the user to embed this into their own website or post, or share this on social media or somewhere else. This has potential to give us some backlinks. Then another tool I created is a return on investment calculator, where I select the hardware first, let's say a MacBook Pro M4 Max. I add the purchase price here and the power consumption, then my usage scenario, and then I select an API model, for example, GPT 4.5, and I see here the input and output prices per million tokens, and I can select a subscription. So let's say I'm on the Pro plan, $200 per month, and I don't use the API, so I remove this. And when I click now on return on investment on this button, I see a chart which shows me exactly when I reach the break even. And in this case, at month 18, local hardware saves you $3,556 over 36 months. And I see a monthly breakdown here, how I'm saving money every month by running AI locally instead of paying for a subscription. As you can see, this isn't just a plain list, it's a decision engine that saves users hours and money, basically. And it has a lot of interactive elements which you can't just generate with one prompt, like a blog post. Now I would just like to start a new directory with you and a quick recap of the thought process. So we want to pick a niche with proven demand. Then in the next step, we will use Claude Code for our pair programmer and to optimize our pages and also for the design by using different skills. And we will start first with static data and build out the basic features first, the basic filters and search and SEO schema. And then after that, we think about our data strategy, how we want to ingest data and manage data going forward. Okay, so let's build a hackathon directory. Hackathons are everywhere. Replit, for example, recently had their Agent 4 hackathon. Many other software companies launch hackathons. Crypto projects launch hackathons. And existing lists are just static pages. We'll build a filterable, searchable directory with dates, locations, topic filters, online in-person toggles, and eventually affiliate ticket links or sponsorings. The first step is to build a prototype, and we can start right away in Claude Code or go to pages like Replit, for example, and vibe code something up very, very quickly to just get a rough idea about how it could look like. And for that, we don't even need a paid plan. I'm now in the free plan, and I will just describe my idea roughly and then give it access to the deep research report. I want to build an web directory based on hackathons. So it will list hackathons from different software companies or other events. And to give you more context about that and what features I would like to have, thoroughly analyze the given report and then draft an app concept. And now we copy our deep research report here and paste this in and submit it. Another tool we can use is Stitch for designing this, and you can say the same thing. Select web here and say design a directory focused on listing hackathons from different software companies. Analyze the given research report deeply to extract relevant context and feature details. Now I paste the same report, and here make sure to have 3.1 Pro selected and then generate it. Okay, so Replit analyzed this and came back with a list of key pages and features. And now it asks me, does this match what you have in mind? Any features you'd like to add, remove, or change before I start building? No, this looks absolutely fantastic. Go ahead and build a prototype. Obviously, we would need to spend a bit more time on this and go through everything and think about it a bit ourselves. Then let's see, in Stitch, it started creating a design system, which is pretty cool already. So we can use this later and paste this into Claude Code. And now it's generating a few screens. Stitch now already generated a few screens for us. Here, for example, the Discover page, which looks all right, pretty clean with open hackathons. And then you see here very prominently the prize pool of this, and then also how much time there's left. Then this is a personal profile of one of the participants with a ranking and the hackathon history of this participant. Then this is probably a detailed page of one of the open events. And then it also designed a team matchmaking hub, and all in a dark theme. Let's see, I think when you click on this here and you switch it to light, then you have the light theme here. And we click on save and apply. Then it's applying a light theme now to all the designs, and this is how it looks like. And now let's download all of this. First the design system, then these pages. Replit now also finished building our prototype, and it's a completely different design, but I like it even more. Pretty cool. Look at that. This is how it looks like now after one prompt, and the stats, they're already working. And then here we have some filtering already applied, and also a submit event button is not working yet, and also the detail page. And what we can do now is download this as a file. We click here on this button in the top right, select file tree, and then the 3 dots, download as zip, and this lets us download this entire code. Now let's open up our terminal. I cd into my dev folder. Let's make this a bit larger. And I want to use Next.js. That's a React framework I can highly recommend because it's very easy to optimize this for SEO and allows you to render websites server side, which is really important for the ranking. Later on, we click on Let's Get Started, Installation. We see command, and this is it. Copy this here, and we call this not my app, but hackathon directory. And this now sets up a new Next.js project for us with the defaults. This was a success, and now we can cd into our project folder and run Claude, which opens up Claude Code in our terminal. Now I want to start first in plan mode. But another thing I want to do first is copy all the context that we collected in the previous steps and paste this into our new project directory. And I want to create a new folder here and call this underscore temp. You can give it any other name you want. And I paste these files in here. And now I just give it a better naming so that I can reference this easier. Replit, Stitch design, and then here also Stitch, say Stitch 0, Stitch 1, Stitch 2, Stitch 3. And now the actual prompt. I want to build a hackathon directory web application, and I want to come up with a detailed plan. And before starting to write code, create a detailed commit-friendly task list of all the single major steps and phases that we need to undergo to implement this entire project. Thoroughly study the context that I gathered in the underscore temp folder. I really like the design of the Replit project that you can find there, but also look at the Stitch folders and the Stitch design to come up with our own design system. And in addition to that, study the deep research report that I created with all the relevant features and value points that I also want to integrate in my hackathon directory. My aim is to reach feature parity first. All right, and now I also copy this research report again and also give it this, and now let it cook.
Ready to work.
Claude is now coming back with a few clarifying questions. What does feature parity mean for the first shippable version? Strict Replit parity recommended. Match only what the Replit reference actually ships. Browse with filters, hackathon detail, and so on. Or the Replit plus Stitch profile and team hub, or the full deep research taxonomy. Yeah. Okay, let's go with the Replit parity first. Then how should the directory data be served in the first version? That's a very important question. Cite TypeScript file and next route handlers, Postgres and Drizzle from day one, SQLite and Drizzle local only. And this is now the data layer. So that's a very important aspect. We need to think about where do we store our data and how do we store it to make it easy to update and also easy to seed in the first initial data, because what we don't want is to click manually around and type in everything manually. No, we want to use AI to research the stuff and then run a script that uploads everything to our directory with one click, ideally. For the first prototype now, we can just use a JSON file, JavaScript object, where we store the initial data. But later on, there are several options. What I use, for example, for my hardware directory is Payload CMS. This one here, this is a free open source CMS solution that you can integrate into your Next.js project. This allows you to make edits without touching code or redeploying your app. So you can just, similar to WordPress, manage all the content of your website directory in Payload, and it comes with authentication already and everything, so you don't need to build this yourself. Another option is to build this yourself with Claude Code, and kind of a mission control where you can manage everything. Or you go with something like Airtable, which is around for really a while. This is basically a spreadsheet, but with AI features, and you can connect this also to your directory. And this makes it very easy to manage, and it will auto update. So in order to make this work, you just tell Claude to integrate the Airtable API, and it will do everything for you. But let's go with the recommended option, which is basically a file with hard-coded entries. And then later on, we can swap this to a database. Then the UI library, which UI component approach do you want? ShadCN UI via CLI or something else? Let's also go with the first option and submit.
Ready to work.
Now Claude Code finished the planning phase. Let's accept it. And now a few pro tips while this is doing its job. How do we now get the first initial traffic on this website? Because ranking this via SEO and GEO and so on takes quite a while. It can take several months, up to a year, before you get a significant increase in traffic and visitors on your page. One approach that I follow is posting the stuff I'm working on, the so-called build in public. And for example, on my X profile, you see it is tiny, it's pretty small right now, but some of my posts, they got really a lot of traction. For example, here I created a post where I told people that VRAM and also memory bandwidth are important for running local AI. And I also shared a few screenshots of what I'm working on. And this post got 32,000 impressions and 28 reposts, which was my best post so far. And then I also share features, new features that I added to the directory, and the link to my directory and so on. And this consistently brings in more traffic from X. And you can do the same on LinkedIn or create YouTube videos and something like that. Or depending on where your target group lives, you can also post this on Hacker News if you have like a tech topic, like for example the stuff we are building now, the hackathon directory. I can share this on Hacker News or on Reddit in specific threads to reach the target audience and people who are interested in this stuff. And then when our directory is in a state where we want to make it public and switch it live, the question is, where and how do we deploy this? And then one low-cost option and easy option to start with is Vercel, for example, especially for prototypes. And when your project is just starting, you can easily deploy this on Vercel by just prompting Claude Code to set this up for you. And up to a specific traffic, you can use this for free. And then at some point, you need a subscription, but which is also quite affordable, probably $20 a month. Otherwise, you need to set up your own server and so on, which is a different topic. Then during the development, we can power up Claude Code with a few specific skills that are very valuable, especially for directories. One skill is a design skill. In case we are not satisfied with the current design, we can use some of these design skills like this one, UI UX Pro Max skill, to polish up our pages in our design system. And for the SEO optimization and GEO and AEO and sitemaps and stuff like that, we can use something like Claude SEO skill, which helps us setting this all up in Claude Code. And here you see the installation instructions is very easy, and we can just run this during our development. To optimize this, roughly, I would say this gets us at least 80% of the way. And then for the remaining 20%. We need to dive a bit deeper into these different topics and maybe come up with our own tactics.
Work complete.
Okay, Claude Code finished now. And this is how it looks like, our first draft. Find your next hackathon. And then here we have some cards, a grid with featured hackathons, explore by theme. And then let's click on browse. Wow, one shot. Pagination already there. And the filters, let's say open, format, online, open to all, non-profit. Let's click on this brain. And then we get to the detail page here, and we can register, see more stats, the event
Ready to work.
dates, and details, and organizer. And when we click on the organizer, we also have a page for this. And here all of the organizers, and then some statistics. 13 live hackathons. Okay, this is something we need to fix. Yeah, it followed the Stitch design a bit more. And we have also light and dark theme. Look at that. Wow, pretty cool. It looks really nice already. Yeah, now in the following prompts, we could say something like, yeah, SEO optimize this whole application. And then it uses the Claude SEO skill if you have this installed. And if you want to make bigger design changes, you can install the UI UX Pro Max design skill. But I think this is already good enough. With a few tweaks, this will be really world class. Now to seed in actual real data and facts, we can kick off another deep research task. That's how I did it with my directory. We can let it gather the first 20, 30 or 50 data points. And before starting to prompt, I would recommend to get the actual data structure that you're using in your app here. And you can ask Claude or look it up in your code yourself. And then you paste this into Gemini or Claude or any other tool where you can perform deep research, so that it automatically populates the fields that you are looking for. So here we can say return an JSON object with the current data structure, all the data that we have, all the fields for an hackathon entry in this application. Now I'm waiting for this data object, and this is available here. It created this in this schema file.
Work complete.
Now this is it. So here's the full hackathon data contract, the schema, and we go ahead and copy this entire thing, and then we kick off a new research task. I want you to research all the currently running and also upcoming hackathon events, and populate this schema, this data structure that I have. So I'm interested in all of these different data points. Fill in all the data points that you can find online. And then I paste this in here, and then I kick it off. And this will return then a new object filled with all the currently running and upcoming hackathons that
Ready to work.
it finds. And then I go ahead with this data into Claude again and say something like, hey, I ran a research and gathered all these information about running and upcoming hackathon events. I want you to seed in this data into the application. So, and then I paste in the results here, and then it will be live in our website. And you can do this in a similar way when you have the payload CMS set up, or if you use Airtable. Claude can also seed in that data for you. So don't go ahead and click around here and do everything manually. Just use AI to make it faster. That's about it for this video. Comment below if I should go deeper in some of these aspects, SEO, GEO optimization, or if you want to see me build out some features in more depth. Feel free to check out my hardware directory. All the links are in the description as usual, or follow along on my social profiles or my newsletter to see what I'm building in public. Thanks for watching, and see you in the next one.